Recently, I decided to buy a game on Steam called Getting Over It with Bennett Foddy. Now, chances are you've most likely heard of it before through a friend or watched a YouTuber play it and laugh as they freak out upon falling down the mountain. If you somehow haven't heard of it before, I'll give a summary of the game. In Getting Over It, you play as the unnamed man in a cauldron with a hammer, and your goal is to climb the mountain in front of you. No timer, no objective marker, just you, the mountain, and Bennett Foddy occasionally chiming in to provide some helpful advice, although you can mute his audio if it begins to bug you. At first, this doesn't seem like a very difficult game, and for some people it isn't. Hell, the world record for the game is less than 2 minutes long. But if you're playing the game for the first time, you'll find that the controls are incredibly clunky, and there's very little enjoyment in moving your character around. No matter how you adjust your settings, it'll always feel like your movements when controlling the hammer are not quite as precise as they should feel. It's unclear to me if this was by design on Foddy's part, but while playing the game himself in an interview with Kotaku, Bennett stated that he tested this game using a $20 mouse he bought off of Amazon, so therefore, no matter what equipment you have, the game is roughly going to play the same either way. This makes sure that controlling the hammer is clunky for everyone at first. Eventually though, you will figure out how to move it around the way you want it to, most of the time. The controls are only the first hurdle though. The next is the physics of the game. Putting aside the illogical nature of a man being able to fling himself around in a cauldron using a hammer, the way your character moves from thrusts or pulls caused by the swing of your hammer are confusing. Sometimes you'll try to thrust yourself up to a point to latch onto and barely go anywhere. Other times you'll slightly mess up a motion while climbing and get launched all the way down to the bottom of the mountain. This combined with the awful controls of the game makes it feel like you have even less control over your character. This was infuriating as hell because a lot of the time it felt like it was out of my control what just happened to me. It doesn't help either that when your character is traveling through the air, he can barely move at all, go flying straight up, or get launched across the screen at Mach 1, leading to, big surprise, your character colliding with an object you couldn't see and getting sent all the way down to the start again. There's no pride in trying to master the controls of this game, and there's no pride in finally understanding the physics engine. The reward you receive for finally reaching the top of the mountain isn't even a lasting one. It's something that'll bring you happiness only for a moment, and then it's gone. And this ironically leads us back to what Bennett talks about for much of the game as you climb, fall, and try and reach the top of this proverbial mountain of nothing that he's laid out in front of us. You've most likely seen a clip of Markiplier or any other number of large YouTubers falling and losing their cool as Bennett chimes in to monologue for a moment. And just in case you haven't, I'll play some of the clips here so you can understand what I'm talking about.
No! God damn it! What the fucking fuck! No! Oh no! No! Oh my God! No!
Still.
Foddy sucks my massive cock.
Now, as funny as these clips are, they completely ignore everything that Bennett is saying to them. To be fair though, I did get a bit upset when I fell for what felt like the millionth time, and Bennett pointed out to me just how much progress I lost. So I can understand why people wouldn't be inclined to go back and listen to what he's saying in a vacuum when their only experience with his voice has been the annoyance of having it come up once you've lost progress, or in the middle of them trying to focus while they climb. It's about as irritating as trying to write a script for a video and having someone look over your shoulder every few minutes and tell you there's a spelling error, a run-on sentence, or there really isn't a point to what you're talking about and you probably should go back to working on your English essay instead. Now, the thing is, that can be annoying in the moment, but it's possible he may have a point. So I looked up all of Bennett's audio spoken during the game and analyzed it to try and find a meaning behind what he's saying to you as you climb the mountain. And what I found is that there really is no given reason to climb the mountain. Bennett himself calls it a mountain of trash, and not just in an interview, but in the game itself. Random pieces are just placed for no reason other than for you to try and climb them. There's slides, lawn furniture, Greek architecture, phone booths, shopping carts, beds, couches, Amazon's unused warehouse, ladders, steel building pieces, oranges, a large purple hat, and a snake. Like Bennett says, it's all just random objects put together with no rhyme or reason, really. Other than for you to have trouble slogging through it all, of course. But I do think Bennett was trying to make the mountain to represent two things. The first being what our digital landscape has become, and the second being a challenge to our ability as humans to persevere no matter what. Now, the mountain being an allegory for what the internet has become is much simpler to explain, so I'll start there. Besides the fact that Bennett just straight up tells us the mountain is a landfill with everything we ever thought in it, the mountain works very well as a physical representation of just how it feels to try and wade through all the useless crap online just to find something, anything of value. There's self-help sites, heated Twitter feuds, commentary channels, horror stories, forums dedicated to finding out what's going to happen in the next episode of The Bachelor, movie reviews, and people talking about video games for no reason other than because they feel like it. Wait a minute. And sometimes when you just want to shut your brain off and look at funny cat videos, it's great. But trying to find out actual information related to the issues you are concerned about can sometimes feel like you're literally trying to climb Mount Everest made of trash without the use of your legs, while a British man mocks you every time you click on a news article only for it to be more of just nothing but gossip and ads. Again, just like Bennett says, everything's fresh for about 6 seconds, until some newer thing beckons and we hit refresh, and there's years of persevering disappearing into the pile. Out of style, out of sight. It's why nothing feels new anymore when it's posted online. We enjoy it once, but after that first viewing, it's never quite the same the second time around. It just becomes another piece of trash, a part of this seemingly endless mountain. And it's frustrating to look at because you know there's something good there, but so much more garbage is being added to the pile. Why bother looking? But maybe that's the point. Maybe we shouldn't be looking at the mountain, but what's beyond the mountain. And that's where I think my second assumption comes in. I think Bennett created this mountain of trash because the mountain itself isn't the thing that matters. So in that sense, the mountain can be whatever you assumed he wanted it to be. And why I think Bennett decided to throw it together with meaningless objects is because he wanted to create a challenge that was so pointless and frustrating. Realistically speaking, nobody would be expected to finish it. Because what's more pointless than climbing a mountain of garbage with a hammer for fun? Especially if it's not even fun to do it. And that was the point I think Bennett was hoping would be proved. That no matter how pointless the goal might have been, if proposed as a challenge, someone somewhere would pull it off eventually. And people did. Bennett's mountain of trash was scaled simply because he asked people to. Even by some people who really didn't want to do it. It wasn't a fun process, but people still reached the top of the mountain. It was never about the mountain. It was just about seeing if it was possible. But not for Bennett. For you, the player. See, if what I have said is true, and Bennett wanted to make the mountain represent both human resilience and perseverance, as well as internet culture, then it makes sense that the mountain is made of trash, and that at multiple points you can fall all the way back to the beginning. Not only would that represent how we can only experience something once before it has a bittersweet taste to it the second time, but it pushes the player to their breaking point. After all, what's more painful than making so much progress only to be right back at where you started because of one small mistake? There really is no emotion quite like it. Falling from the snake is nearly identical to the feeling of having your computer crash and realizing you forgot to save your work, or leaving on a trip and only realizing at the airport you forgot your passport. It's agonizing and it makes you want to just give up trying anything ever again. But people still find a way to pick themselves up and just start. They get over it because what else can you do? Plus, there's still that drive and curiosity to find out what is at the top. And I think that's what makes Getting Over It special. It found a way to replicate that feeling of having to start over from the very beginning after a mistake. But it also asks the player to take on a challenge for no other reason than because they feel like it. The challenge only exists because we continue to try and reach the top. It's a stupid idea to try and climb a mountain of trash. No one's arguing that. But no one is forcing you to climb the mountain either. You can't win or lose. You can only climb the mountain or try again if you fall. And that's also the beauty of getting over it. It teaches us we can get up no matter how much we fall. Even if we are trying to get to the top of a mountain of trash and no one will care if we do it. It's our mountain because it's our goal to reach the top. And we took the time to scale it. And that's what matters. Not the mountain, but reaching the top, even if it is bittersweet once it's over. There is something that we should remember once we reach the top. Just because we scaled this mountain doesn't mean it has to be the end. There will always be other mountains to climb, you just need a challenge that matters to you to climb it. Even if that challenge is to use a hammer and no rope. Hey, thanks for everyone still watching the video. Thank you to my editor Isabella for editing basically this entire video. You helped out a ton, and this wouldn't exist without you. Thank you so much. There's a blooper video coming out about 2 to 3 days after this one releases. It's just me messing up reading up this, like this. It's me messing up reading the script in front of me. It's just funny. Socials are linked in the description. They're there for anyone that cares. And yeah. Alright, thanks for watching. Bye.